Welcome back to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. This time, I mud, you mud. But there's much better things than what I just said, and they're all at IABDpresents.com, all a part of the IABD Presents network. Speaking of IABD, the IABD Radio Hour, the one that started it all, the flagship. This Saturday, Mad Lab Theater, 5:30. You can check it out live. The latest serials, probably Universe Journey, Top Notch Tangler, maybe Packer and Ratcliffe, and Tim, Time Machine Tim. Either way, you're going to want to be there. 5:30, tickets available, madlab.net. Also, right after that show, it's Mad Lab's latest. It's Kitej. It's a post-apocalyptic fairy tale. What else do I need to tell you? Obviously, you love sci-fi. You love futuristic tales. This tale's set in the future, but it feels like it's not. I know I'm just confusing you, but you want to check it out. Those tickets also available at madlab.net. Another way to support all of us here at IABDpresents.com and the IABD Presents network, and It's All Been Trekked Before, is go to patreon.com/IABD. Yeah, you can literally help support us. Go there, make a donation. You'll get special treatment. You'll get special things that non-contributors do not get. Go check it out. You can see some of the bonus things you can get there for very, very little. But please check it out, patreon.com/IABD. And now, it's the iMud episode of It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your normal Season 2 hosts are here.
I wouldn't call us normal.
Your usual?
Alright.
There you
Okay. Season 2.
This is Steven.
And Colleen.
And Keith.
And Jimmy-Jerome. Zoe isn't here. She abandoned us.
Oh, that's true.
She watched part of the episode and then she left. Jerk.
Typical.
So we're here today to talk about the original series episode, I Mud. First impressions.
Pretty entertaining. I did realize I'd seen probably like the last few minutes of the episode before at some point, or at least the parts where they're tricking the androids. I can't think of where or why. But
Yeah, Mud's a lot more fun in this episode.
Well, he gets to work with the crew.
Yeah. The interplay is so much more fun, and I almost wish it went on longer before they, whatever the androids turned on him or whatever. But then it'd be a different episode, of course. But and this also speaks to why they talked about a spinoff for him, which obviously they never got to. And obviously, if Star Trek had lasted more than 3 seasons, maybe.
I mean,
Mud's World or whatever, Mud's Universe would have became a thing, but
Space Mud. Never mind.
Mud's Earth.
I don't know that this would have worked as a spinoff.
No, not this specific. But Mud, to me,
he could get out of there.
Yeah, he doesn't end up on this planet forever. Probably for a little while.
And it'd be great if one of the Stellas tagged along with him.
Yeah.
It sounded like they were hinting at a spinoff with the whole. We should start a partnership. I was almost jokingly going to say that, but that's kind of funny they were actually thinking about that.
Yeah, I feel like the Adventures of Mud would have been definitely very entertaining. Because Mud's Women, it seems like there's some fun there, but not nearly as much as here.
No, this was a much better episode than Mud's Women.
Yes. Even though they did bring back some of the outfits.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, no, I mean the elements that were bad about Mud's Women, they did not return.
No.
So, he was definitely still sexist and definitely still a horn dog, but
which it seems to be less reprehensible when they were androids, since they were probably supposed to be acting that way. Yes,
okay.
It's more entertaining when he's not selling women.
Yeah.
When he's just creating them to serve him.
Well, it sounds like they created themselves for that purpose, and then it's
he's to a certain extent. They mentioned like he had programmed that, and he had decided to make 500 Alice's. So I mean, he's still reprehensible for sure. Yeah. But I enjoyed his interplay with Kirk more. They were more playful, more back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. More roguish charm. Colleen?
I just wondered why his clones were brunettes, because his wife was a brunette, so I would think he would go blonde or redhead for his dream girl. But
Maybe they couldn't find any blonde twins.
Maybe.
That was actually going to be my guess. It's funny.
Yeah.
So there were actual twins. I wasn't sure. It looked like there were
most
some.
of them, I think a couple of them were, but obviously the leads.
The Alice and Ray
Yeah.
entries.
Yes.
The way they're credited is Alice is credited as 1 through 250, and Ray is credited 251 through 500. But that's not accurate because
Right.
there were scenes where there were essentially 2 of them on stage,
Yeah.
and their numbers were in that same frame, like 66 and 99.
Yeah.
I'm sure with the 2 sisters, even though they're credited this way. But I think the point was that essentially they played all
500.
Right.
Well, it was interesting. I thought the way they did the camera work was interesting because in the close-up scenes there were only ever 2 of them because there
Right.
were only 2 actresses.
Right.
They didn't mess with doing the weird stuff until we got to
Right.
the end with Stella. But then they did a long shot where 6 of them came on stage, and that was some type of trick photography.
Right.
So they, I just thought it was interesting where they chose to use duplicates and camera work, or where they chose to use camera work, and where they chose to just let it play normal.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those where they say there's 207,809 androids, but we're only going to see 12 because obviously.
Well, it's like the whole Enterprise crew was down there. We saw this.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sulu didn't even join them.
There was
It's like every other planet where it's an entire planet, but you only see the one building.
right.
So the other 200,000 clones were.
Now you're describing my work life.
That sounded not at all bitter.
No, I was reading a story that one of the casting director was out scouting for twins, and found 2 prostitutes on Sunset Boulevard, and they brought them in, and they had a.
They were both male.
No, they were both women, and I'm going to decide they were the 2 blondes, and they had a feral or a wild cat, and it bit Gene Coon or scratched him, and they decided they weren't going to work out. So.
That end scene where they had lots of different ones were a bunch of sets of twins. So the
Yes.
Hermans were
Yeah.
twins, the
Yeah.
Barbaras were twins, the Maisies were twins.
That's where I first really noticed, the 2 on the end.
They weren't all identical twins,
Yeah.
but they were all twins.
It's weird. I think they did an okay job of going in between the yuckity yucks and there is some tension here. But sometimes the stingers that we talk about, the musical stingers, are a little bit much. All right, we're laughing, we're with you, and now we're getting super serious. It's hard to get. And of course, we're looking at it knowing they're going to get out of it. But
This was an episode that, even though there was a major threat, I mean, they lost the starship.
right.
They still played with a lot of comedy. Like
Oh,
some
yeah,
of the better
yeah.
episodes do.
Yeah, and I thought, again, it's one of those things we talk about a lot. You got to see some of the Uhura and Chekhov, those guys get to have a little more fun, do a little bit more than they usually do.
Yep.
Like horny Chekhov.
Yeah, he definitely banged those androids.
Yeah,
I will say.
and let's keep in mind, at the end of the day, these guys are sailors.
Yeah,
So that's not surprising.
I would call him Chekhov.
yeah.
Based upon what we've seen so far.
Again, I refer back to Chekhov's gun.
If you're going to have sex at bots, you have to use the
If
sex
Chekhov
bots.
brings up the fact that he wants to have sex with them, even if it's very coded for 60s television, he's going to have sex with them. I mean,
Well, I thought they were playing with the standards when they had one of the Alice's was 66, the other one was
Right,
99
right.
on the other side of Harry.
Right.
I feel like they couldn't do 69, but we're going to get close. Did you, for a second, believe that Uhura had betrayed the crew
no.
the first time?
That was pretty funny.
I might have when I was 12 or whatever, actually. But
I kind of wanted them. I almost wanted them to just make it even more absurd. The lead up to him going over and grabbing her by the shoulders, like the whole thing to do with you low down dirty,
yeah.
brilliant woman or something.
I enjoy that only because that's what I want. I always just want to hug.
By the shoulders, just grabbing her.
Well, it would start there.
I would say out of all of the, what's a good way to say that they're clearly faking it, without cursing.
All the shenanigans.
Shenanigans? It's not a good word. Anyway, Uhura gave a convincing performance when she revealed they were trying to.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
In that, sure.
Yes, so
The
she
plot.
gave a convincing
The
performance.
betrayal, yes.
Of the betrayal, whereas everything else that they did, all the other
Put it
shenanigans,
over.
was so ridiculous. And I'm sure that's why, is because they wanted the audience to believe that one time that maybe she really betrayed.
Right.
But then the rest, it was like, but you all know this isn't real.
Well, and until the androids decide that they are gonna take over or whatever, everything, like when she's talking, they're like, we can make you immortal, we can put you in an android body. It's like,
She seems real interesting.
is that a bad thing necessarily? Well, let's take a couple steps back here and think about this. Maybe this isn't a bad thing. And unfortunately, we don't get into that philosophical, ethical conversation. Instead, we go on to the other stuff, which I understand. Again, that wasn't what this episode was about, but there is that moment, and I think for a couple seconds to her is like, that doesn't sound so bad.
The deleted scene is she does get put in an android body, but she doesn't tell anybody for like 20 years. And they're making the motion pictures, and everybody's old, but she's not.
Yeah, the other one is that they're like, they were just trying to serve. They were trying to.
Yeah.
They'll tell humans anything on here. Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we can do that, and then they do it and it just fails miserably. It's just because
As soon as the warranty wears off, it falls apart.
well, and that was my thought was, well, if they
years.
said they can do that, how come they haven't done that? How come they didn't do that with the? Well, I guess their civilians died in the old times, but why wouldn't? Because immediately what I thought was, then Mud is an android, maybe. Why not make it? Why wouldn't he make himself immortal?
I feel like he gave himself a better body.
Was he
for
too
him to do
busy?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Give himself some
Well, why didn't he get an even better android body? Why wouldn't he put himself in one of the Bobbies or whatever those other guys were?
Normans.
Well, there was only one Norman.
There's only one Norman, but he could have been a Herman.
Herman, that's it. Because they all had to end in man. Because they couldn't be.
Oh.
The women were
I get
Barbara,
that.
Babs, and everything else, but the.
I really wanted when he was like, we request the presence of the captain and the science office and the navigator.
Yeah.
I wanted him to say the yeoman because obviously now Rand's not still there.
Right.
I would think he would ask for Rand to come down. Is what I'm saying.
Do you know that Yeoman Rand's no longer here? Scratch that. Communications officer.
Yeah.
He's anti-blonde.
Clearly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the episode. I mean, yeah. I honestly, for just a second, I can't remember. I'm like, Uhura is lying, right? When she was doing the betrayal.
When she does the betrayal.
For a second, I was like, wow, if she's not lying, this is a really sexist reason to have her be like, oh, I gotta be
look
beautiful.
good. Yeah.
Well, they really kind of, came up to the edge of that when she was first introduced
Right.
the idea to make it seem like, this is something I might consider.
Yeah.
Well,
Eternal beauty.
There's a
It's like,
difference between considering it and being obsessed with it enough to betray your crew.
Right.
It's fine if she thinks it's a good idea. I get that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to betray your crew just to be pretty, that's not Uhura.
To be young
Yeah.
Yeah.
is different.
Well,
That's
and
true.
I think that most people would just be young forever, whether or not you're pretty. Nobody wants to be.
true. But to be young and pretty, I mean,
Well, yeah, that'd be the best.
that's yeah.
Well, they're saying that they literally said that at the beginning. They were pitching
Yeah.
it to her, which is why I thought it
Right.
was interesting.
And if anyone was going to be talked into that, it'd be Kirk.
Right.
But of course, as was
Or
stressed,
Chekhov.
Yeah.
quite a bit here, he's still in love with his ship. Just
yes.
lest anyone,
Because she's a beautiful lady.
lest anyone be confused, he is in love with that ship.
The curves of the saucer. Nacelles. Yeah, I mean, he was the total hero that wasn't tempted in the slightest to give in.
Right, and which I guess is fine. I kept thinking that, I think I mentioned in another episode. This is one of those episodes where they out with the computer, but or whatever the android. And I guess these guys were a special case because their exposure to humans was so limited that this did really blow their minds or whatever.
Yeah.
What these guys
Literally.
were doing.
I was thinking about that, how that would work. I mean, I wonder. I mean, if you think about the way that like video games work nowadays,
Right.
I mean, the AI they put into that. I mean, it isn't like foolproof. I mean,
Right,
They have to put
right.
on rails to keep things like that from happening. So.
Well, because Nomad wouldn't have gone for this. He'd have just eliminated them when they started acting like that. He's like, he'd sterilize them, whatever. But they're imperfect. That's what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as they started doing that crazy stuff, he just.
But what boy, that's true. I guess. Well,
Yeah.
he had a different purpose, though.
Exactly, and that's why I thought why aren't they just using the logic? But that they were programmed differently. So
well, specifically to imitate and infiltrate, and so and to serve them to get to that point. So there was like a constant learning machine going on there. So it had to learn to adapt to what would please them, and so I had more opportunities for paradoxes. I'm just, I don't know. I wonder if that would really work. Anyway.
Yeah, that's like I said. That was something I had when I was thinking about this episode. I had problems with it. Whenever they outwit the computer, but this is different from the way he outwitted Nomad. And we've got more outwitting the computer or the androids to come.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, I mean, this reminded me of the Borg. This reminded me of the Cybermen from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Very, hive mind.
Yeah,
singular
and they
purpose.
literally say they're part of just a one giant,
Right.
which I thought I forgot about that.
A lot prettier than the Cybermen or the Borg, but
Sure. Yeah.
7 of 9 aside.
Yeah.
We'll get to that point.
Fair point.
I was going to say, actually, one of the things I noted was Spock leapt to that conclusion pretty quickly, or at least he thought of considered that they were hive-minded before even really.
Right.
It seemed like he would have had enough
seemed
information.
like, I
He's
think
very
you said
observant.
it was quite a jump that they would have to be centrally nothing they'd said before that gave that impression. It
Right.
seemed like they were all autonomous operating androids.
So, jumping back to the thing about having a better-looking android.
Yeah.
It was funny to me at the beginning. One thing I noted when they had the close-up panel shot, I noted you would think that if we're so sophisticated, they would have it with like better abs or something.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah,
this
exactly
black
right.
thing. Should have looked like a He-Man doll or something for it to open out.
And
But it looked a lot better with the new effects.
yeah, and
Well, that too, but
I guess it looked like a doll that you would put batteries in, except the old ones, I felt like you always put them in the back. But it would make sense that they would want it in the front so nobody could mess with them.
Well, and you can't show a naked butt on TV.
Of course. And I read that that was the longest opening teaser of any episode. It was like almost 5.5 minutes, I think. So.
Nowadays they do 10 minutes, 12 minutes routinely. Yeah, I wonder why that Sulu didn't get to play with the rest of the crew. He was at the beginning, so he was in the episode.
Yeah, and I read he's not in any of the next 9 episodes because he was filming the Green Berets with John Wayne. Yeah. So
he's going to take a nice long break right in the middle of the best of Star
yes,
Trek.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that sucks for him.
to be in a movie that wasn't a great movie, and
yeah, he wasn't in Tribbles, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was odd that he didn't join the rest of the core bridge crew when they all.
Yeah, I think he's the only one that was missing. Yeah,
The
I
other
think
6
that's why.
were. I mean, even Scotty made it to them, and then Mudd kind of filled in and joined the little group, which was a nice dynamic.
Right.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked all the antics they did. The dancing and the Scotty and McCoy little face with the finger in the chin. The Spock saying, I love you and I hate you because I love you. And
The face from the soul was back there.
Well, and it just made me think they were...
the tweeting.
Because I felt like they couldn't have quite scripted that out, so it was kind of a beat improv kind of thing. So I was wondering what their improv troupe would be called. And I hadn't... there would be some dumb tribble thing.
Yeah.
But that was all I'd come up with. Besides the Klingon, some kind of Klingon, there'd be a Klingon thing. That we'll work on this. Keep thinking of improv troupe names for the Enterprise.
Well, about the phaser sketch, I noted that they Foleyed Scotty to death.
Set for Stun, that's one name. That's one improv troupe name.
Yeah, that's what Colleen said was her favorite part.
Speaking of Mudd being terrible, so, he keeps his wife around, Stella, Andrea Copy, and they bring her back at the end. And it's a little funny, but it's definitely the old... take my wife, please joke. Really amplified.
I mean, we got some nice Mudd backstory out of it.
Yeah.
Like her running him off the planet or whatever.
Yeah.
But, yeah, she was such a stereotype. Stella Mudd, played by Kay Elliott, was just ridiculously over the top nagging wife.
Yeah. And so... Yeah, what happens to him at the end? And I think there aren't really 500. They just put that one on one of them for a joke.
I don't think so.
You think they got 500?
I think they have 500. I'm surprised they didn't put in a new special effects shot of just like if they had a room in there. If they'd had a bigger room in there. I mean, when you look at Kay Elliott's credits, who played Stella, she only has 11 credits.
Yeah.
Star Trek's one of the top 4 she's famous for. She's actually listed in Mudd's Women uncredited. Do they have a photo or something of her?
Oh, I
That would
thought
be
I saw
interesting.
something.
That would make sense, actually. About those 500s, I noticed that it's an interesting kind of thing. Like maybe it was like written in by a kid or something. What's a big number? 500 is a big number. So they lived for 500,000 years. There were 500
Oh, you're
robots.
right.
Yeah, so, this sounds big.
Huh.
They just mention her in Mudd's Women because the cargo ship was named Stella for her.
Funny.
I did read David Gerald, speaking of tribbles, he helped contribute to this episode. His idea was to get them down to the planet earlier. He wrote some of the Stella stuff,
good.
so he wrote some of the My Wife stuff.
Getting him down was a good choice.
Yeah.
Well, this was written by Stephen Candle.
Yeah, and Kuhn actually asked Gerald if he wanted to get story credit, and Gerald was like, "No, this is really Candel's. He came up with Harry Mudd. This is him."
So he did this and Tribbles?
He had some story ideas. He contributed, but he didn't want story credit or anything.
I mean, they felt pretty similar, and I was actually wondering. I don't know if you guys mentioned that before. Was it something like they're thinking Mudd was going to be the character in Tribbles who was doing with the
right?
the
Correct.
selling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Sarah Jones.
Yeah, he did, and yeah, Gerald did add some comedic elements. And I speaking of that, I appreciate when Kirk, instead of doing a Captain's Log or whatever supplemental or anything, they come back from commercial and he literally recaps the episode by saying, "Well, so far there have been a few amusing aspects of this, but let's get down. But we've got a problem here we got to solve." Blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, that's a cool way to recap it for everybody that hadn't been with us the whole time.
Just tuned in.
Yeah.
Stephen
As
Candle.
they did back then.
Yeah.
Stephen Candle actually only wrote one other episode of the original series. He wrote Mudd's Women.
Right.
So
Right.
that's probably why Mudd's voice was so consistent.
Yes.
And then the animated series, he wrote 2 episodes, one of them being Mudd's Passion.
Yeah.
So he wrote all 3 Mudd episodes that were produced.
And other than the crew members, Mudd's the only one who appears in more than one episode.
Yeah.
The only character that appears in more.
Yeah, other actors. Well, yeah. Because, like, Mark Leonard as Sarek
it's
and
different.
Romulan
Yeah,
Commander.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's I don't know. I feel like there's something to explore there about the idea of like why just him? Why didn't they do more of those things for continuity?
Right.
I mean, I realize I feel like we've talked about it before that that continuity didn't seem to make sense for their model of doing things
Having
back
a
then.
story arcs.
No, this is
Well,
long
they
watch
did have
TV that way.
recurring characters on shows back then. The storyline may not have really depended on other appearances, but they had
Right.
characters they bring back from time to time.
Right.
Right.
And I think they would have done more if Star Trek gone on longer.
So for my science notes on this, or at least the Star Trek science note of things, first of all, I don't think I've ever heard them talk about like the classes of planets before this. Maybe they did, but they mentioned a K class, and also I think that's the only time I've heard them say anything other than like an M class later. So I'm not sure if.
Did they say what a K class is?
Yeah, it required domes and pressures.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Pressured rooms to be habitable.
That's
for
right. And then
humans.
the androids are going to do something about that at the end, I guess. I know the androids were programmed to fix up the planet or whatever. It seems like they would have taken one of them with them just for
study? Or?
Yeah, and actually that's my alternative episode. Chekhov takes one of them.
Oh, yeah, he does.
For his own kind of study, yeah.
He takes an Alice.
After all, he is a sailor.
That's-
I liked his line about
Didn't
this
matter
is
which
better
one.
than Leningrad, because of course it's going to be compared to
of course.
something indefinite.
Of course. Even in the future.
So the other thing during that the cold open, with all the it seemed like the buttons and switches at least were more obvious to me, the way that they were operating them to do certain actions. So we had Norman infiltrating, went in there, like did a toggle switch, pressed a few buttons,
Right.
and somehow that changed course. We had Sulu trying to stop what he had done and pressed a couple of buttons the same, once or twice. Said, "Oh, can't do it." So I don't know if that's like like a restart switch or something. Nope.
And
Refresh.
when Norman goes into the engineering section and they all attack him, it was another one of those great, that stunt man looks nothing like him.
Yeah.
And there's the part where the guy jumps from up above and they cut it so you see him go to jump and then you just see the end of it. And it's like, and my thought was, okay, so did they have a stunt man? Mm-hmm. And they had an actor too? Because they had to have somebody convincing to walk across and prepare to jump, then like cut, and then a stunt man came in and actually did the jump? I don't know.
This actually sounds like it probably would happen.
It
You saw a
could be.
falling body.
Yeah, I mean, and then Norman took over the whole ship. I can't remember what the background was like. How did he get on the ship? Did they explain
They
that?
said he was a crewman. He'd been there for a little bit.
Huh.
And he just hadn't talked about himself, and that's why McCoy...
Oh, right. I forgot about
Which
that.
I think's kind of dumb, but...
Well, he went through academy and everything just to build. It was all building to this. Well, and Mudd even says, I wanted to get a starship. We were just lucky to get yours, which takes out the whole I want revenge on you, Kirk aspect of it. It's just
No,
like,
I didn't feel he
I just happened to get you.
Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about that. So, I mean, it's possible they actually went through academy or something. How long could he have been there, though?
I don't.
I mean, Mudd couldn't have been there more than a year because of what we'd seen.
Right.
Like, not much more than a year anyway. Because of the previous episode. And it takes 4 years to get to the academy.
Okay, so they could have theoretically forged some sort of
That's what I'm
transfer.
thinking. I think they
Yeah,
forged
yeah,
documents or something. I mean, the androids were super smart. They could hack into the computers.
Mm.
Yeah, I like that it wasn't bent on revenge, and I wonder
Yeah.
how many Starship captains he's encountered and manipulated.
Well, and that was my other thought, and I think back a lot of the Trek literature I used to read back in the day, the feeling was Mudd's women in this were not the only 2 times they crossed paths.
Right.
There were other stuff
because
because
crossing other captains, not just Kirk all the
right,
time.
but you know the way he and Kirk interact, it's like you guys have met more than once.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what makes it great and interesting. And then I think that's where a spinoff would go, or just that idea of Mudd's always getting these misadventures and.
Well, you'd have,
you know.
you'd have Star Trek crewmen like run afoul of them somewhere like on
Yeah,
a planet. Like,
and-
oh, we're at a bar. No, there's Chekhov or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. And in a whatever the alternate universe for Star Trek, it's a big success. When you get in the late '60s, early '70s, Mudd as the anti-hero, that would have been his time.
Yeah.
And
that
like we
could have
said,
worked as a
we never got there, but
No. I mean, I again enjoy Roger Carmel's
Yeah, he's
performance
great.
so much.
and
Roger C. Carmel.
I just watched Hardly Working, which is one of Jerry Lewis's later movies,
Ah.
and Roger Carmel's in it, and it's parts of it are incredibly unwatchable. Parts of it are funny to me only because I'm a Jerry Lewis fan, and in that one, Roger Carmel's playing this so over the top character, but he still gets some laughs out of that too. And Susan Oliver's in it as Jerry Lewis's sister, oddly enough, and not surprisingly, it doesn't get enough to do. And it never does a dance painted green either. So that also demerits for Hardly Working. But I was I forgot Roger Carmel was in it and that Susan Oliver in it until I watched it. So I was pleasantly surprised.
You want to do your fashion?
Yeah. Fashion. Colleen, thoughts? There was a lot going on.
I mean, yeah, Mudd's purple belt was amazing, but then there were the epaulets, so it's like, where do I look?
Right.
I liked Mudd's outfit a lot better
Yeah,
in this episode
I
than
do
the
too.
previous one. This was his previous outfit for reference. He looked like an Australian outbacker.
So there was the hat there. I wasn't sure that was like
Yeah.
photoshopped in for comedy or what.
No.
No, I forgot about that.
What did you think about the ladies? Again, one note, I thought her skirt looked lower again this episode.
Lower as in closer to her knees, or
Yes. Yeah. Longer, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Well, the guys had little pouches going on.
The androids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Norman, certainly.
Yeah, those were...
He was wearing some kind of... theater strap.
and the other
Oh,
guy,
yeah.
the Hermans, their outfits come back and let that be your last battlefield. I did see that. And then one of the dresses one of the androids was wearing was Lenore's from Conscience of the King.
Reusing.
Yeah. And then we'll see a couple of these again in Wolf in the Fold when we get to that. But
What were your favorite android costume?
I liked... was Alice the main? Yeah, I thought hers was nice and revealing, yet not insanely
Bottom
revealing.
was just gray pantyhose.
Yeah.
Tights.
It was a weird outfit that looked like, wow, she's showing a lot, but yet she actually isn't, which I thought was nice. Colleen, did you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, it was a very strange...
Yes.
No, not strange the way you're thinking.
Oh.
My concern was the tights or pantyhose that they were wearing because their backs were super low cut.
Yeah.
And typical pantyhose come up way past the belly button. They're control top. So I don't know if that's a like a decade difference. Like maybe now because women have gotten fatter because America's gotten fatter, our pantyhose are control top, and they weren't back then because people were skinny. I don't know, but I was impressed with the lowness of their pantyhose, and then the kitten heels were an interesting choice.
Well,
I didn't have a problem with the orange thing. The low back was hot. I liked
Yeah.
that it was long enough that it covered part of them because it makes it less slutty.
Did you
the
sell
weird
the
chains in the hair I didn't get.
Did you sell the twins at the end? The other one?
No, I was playing with the baby.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wonder how any of those outfits are logical.
I mean, I thought the trying to compare them to Spock was a little too much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did it too heavily.
Yeah.
You would love this, Spock.
Yeah.
Unlike a planet of Vulcans anyway, like
Although,
you would never find anything like this ever.
Did like the payoff at the end where he's like, "This is where I'm most needed among you people."
Yeah.
Yeah, everything that we saw in this episode was created for Mud, correct? None of them were in their natural states, per se?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like Norman probably was. I bet the women he...
I think,
though.
yeah, that's my thought too. I think you're right. I think that's probably where the logic went out the window.
Yeah.
Because the guys being in all gray, completely covered, I mean, I feel like they were even turtlenecks.
Yeah.
But then the tight bulge and it was a very strange juxtaposition.
And a couple of the women at the end were actually showing a lot more skin than Alice. And then there's the two... This is where we get back into the creepy, reprehensible Mud. Two of those girls look really, really, really young. They look like teenagers.
So, were we to understand that whole planet was there were 200,000 something robots
Androids,
just elsewhere
Yeah.
on that planet? And
I kind of saw Harvey Mudd in this, as I was watching it, as a very Wizard of Oz type character.
Yeah.
That he gets put into a position of power without really know what's going on there, and there's a certain amount of sham to what he's doing. And I mean, the Wizard of Oz is a con man, so it kind of...
Well, I felt like the and I guess this is sci-fi in general, different concepts of what an android is, because like the comparison to Spock, and some androids are like what are little girls made of? They had the human brain in there, or Corby's brain in there, but he was an android. And these guys, I guess they were just robots, but they were androids, but they had human.
But they said they could build a body for the human brain.
Yeah, the Alice's essentially said we have female genitalia, although whether they're like humanoid genitalia, I guess we don't know. But
it's interesting. They
I guess Chekhov does.
Yeah. Obviously, the name of this episode was an Isaac Asimov reference.
Yeah.
But I felt like they used his laws of robotics as well, that you can't harm.
To serve.
Serve.
It's I was reading a thing and they're like, well, this could have been a reference to this or this or this. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's to iRobot. I'm pretty sure.
Well, yeah, it's iMud. Yes, it's to iRobot, and that came out in the 50s, so it was around plenty long before this. I was trying to remember what the rules are. I know it's. I'm googling.
Aren't there just 3 rules?
Yeah, there's just 3.
I think one of them actually refers back to the other ones.
A robot may not injure a human being.
Yes.
Or through an action allow a human being to come to harm, and they definitely obeyed that one. A robot must obey orders given by human beings except where it would conflict with the first law. Yeah. And they thought they were serving the human's best interests.
Right.
And then a robot must protect its own existence as long as it does not conflict with the first 2. Mm-hmm. So I felt like there wasn't anything that got into that third law, but the first 2 were pretty solidly served.
Yeah.
Although with that caveat of they've made this judgment call that what they're doing is better off for humanity than listening to the orders of the people.
I know I get hung up on Android because to me an Android, I think of an Android as having its own, either a human or somebody else's brain in there, and it's just a superior body.
What's the side?
Well, they were using...
maybe that's...
They were using Android and robot pretty
interchangeably
here, which I disagree with. I do think these were more robots.
That's what I think.
Other than possibly Norman.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I feel androids are a more sophisticated version of a robot.
Well, I think androids are, I mean, technically the term means they are made to resemble humans in some way.
Yes.
Robots could be anything, like just like an arm, for example. Like or an assembly line.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
When you Google it, said, authors have used it in any number of ways, but androids typically are made to look like humans.
Well, like the Latin root and, that's what they're...
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, I just always thought of them as more sophisticated versions.
That's,
Like, the Cylons of Battlestar Galactica would be androids, or...
that's true,
You know, but, like, I'm trying to think of an example of some robot in science fiction that just is a robot that looks human.
I guess that's my...
That would still be technically an android.
Yeah, I know, and that's... But I guess that's where I made the mental differentiation, which is apparently incorrect.
When we were talking earlier about them, being so easily confused by their antics or whatever. And it's like they have all these... I guess it makes sense. Again, we're going to experience it again, but they have all this sophistication on the one hand, but they have... I guess they lack experience with humans and that and processing that kind of stuff.
Oh, there is some sort of central processor going on there, and of course, I mean, it would be like object-oriented programming in the sense that each one of these is a unit that is made to function a certain way.
Yeah.
And then they're like, so you'd have an engine in the control room, which is essentially driving all their
And if everything keeps going a certain way, it's fine. Then when
yeah, they're like, huh, what am I supposed to do here?
I guess that makes sense.
Loading. Nope, got nothing. Sorry, freeze.
Just to double back to the whole, McCoy loves the lab, and her, they're talking about mortality, and Chekhov's doing his thing.
Gets to bang ladies.
Yeah. I guess thank God Kirk's in love with the ship, because it's kind of like, you know what, this isn't a bad thing. This is pretty good.
Spock was on Kirk's side on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, McCoy and Scotty got kind of excited.
And
Uhura, yeah.
But I feel like, okay, we need to get off this planet, whatever, and back to our ship. That's what we do. But there's still some positive things that are here. And what about? And they never mention the lab at the end. They just say they're going to leave them there. It's like, well, shouldn't they come bring some people back and
take some prototypes from the lab or something?
Yeah, and use that lab to learn a lot of things. Yeah, I mean,
there were a couple problems I had with this episode, and that wrap-up was one of them. Another one was I felt like we should have seen a war on the Enterprise of crewmen refusing to abandon the ship.
Right. Other than Scotty just getting thrown in by the girl.
Like if they made this today, there would be a fight back.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, because I don't know what they used back then. What do you think the fake phaser was made out of that she took and just squished in her hand?
The communicator?
Yes, you're right. It was a communicator, not a phaser.
It looked like foil or something.
You think it was foil?
It looked like
I wondered.
I don't know. But yeah, that's a good question.
Because I don't think they had the technology that we do today to make all these.
Not surprising.
Maybe they just made it a robot hand.
Right when that happened.
Now they're using 3D.
Now they had the technology for it.
When she crushed that's when Chekhov first started getting excited.
Oh, God.
Chekhov was thinking of the possibilities.
Oh, yeah. And again, another theory is like, why should we leave?
Yeah.
But actually, I think there probably were a couple crew members on the Enterprise. What you would have had to do to figure it out is use McCoy's little microphone device and figure out how many heartbeats were up there.
And then we could do
because androids don't have heartbeats, right?
We could do an episode a few weeks after this where we discover that half the crew is androids and they haven't been they've been replaced.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, there are lots of ways you could go with this.
Exactly. Yeah.
This should not have been a self-contained story.
It should not. This could have been ongoing several episodes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the obvious negative though, Mudd himself said that he got bored after a while.
That's true.
And also, once they said that they weren't, exterminate humans from the rest of the universe or whatever, how were they going to do that?
Not exterminate them, serve them.
Well, all right.
But in a controlled manner or whatever. Yeah. So it's
basically enslave them.
Yeah, it's another one of those. Everything's going to be great as long as you do what we say. So I guess I get that.
Yeah.
I guess I can see why they.
I mean, they were being like the Orville and putting them in the zoo, but
that's true.
Pretty close.
Right. I had one little note at the beginning. The guy that gets knocked out at the beginning ended up being on Guiding Light later, which when I was first watching Star Trek, I was seeing him every day because I'd sit around and watch soap operas with my mom. And he was like one of the main characters. Like, hey, that guy's on your show. And then boom, he just gets knocked out and that's it. He's done.
That chop was amazing. I love it. It was so efficient and just...
Their fighting style is just... I don't even know. It was funny that...
It's space karate.
It was... As soon as... when you heard a slap Chekhov and he fell, I was like, immediately in my mind, I went to the conversation they had planning this, where they're like, who's your hurry to slap? Chekhov, you're the low-ranked guy. Do I have to? Yeah, no, none of us. You're the one getting slapped.
And then you see her just cracking her knuckles, getting ready. Yeah. I've been waiting for this.
That's Ensign's job.
Oh, speaking of...
She's got a warm-up bat that she's swinging.
Yes.
Yeah. And his hair looks better this episode.
Yes, this was another one without the wig. The people point to this episode as another evidence of when Chekhov joined the Enterprise because he doesn't know who Mudd is, so it was after Mudd's women, but before Space Seed, obviously, because later we know he knew who Khan was.
Right.
So,
sometime in season 1.
Yeah, somewhere in there, somewhere in that window.
Yeah.
I also made a note. I was trying to think of other successful twin actors because the ladies in this, the Andreses, they didn't do much more after this. They did a. Bonanza and a couple other late 60s, early 70s shows, but who do you got? Like the Olsen twins? I was going to say the Landers, but I don't think they were twins.
Ann Landers and Abby.
Oh, those Ann Landers,
I'm going to
they
get their
were successful.
first names wrong.
T and Tamara?
Yes, the sister twins.
Yes, I thought of them.
Thank you.
I couldn't remember the name of that show.
Yeah, she's only got... I looked at one of the Andrews sisters, and she only has 6 credits.
Yeah.
There were triplets that were in a lot of stuff for a while. I think they were in Saved by the Bell. And I can't remember what else they did after that.
Oh, yeah.
And I think 2 of them were in a movie together. And
They're the Doublemint twins, but those were different sets of twins. So
Yeah, right.
Those
Always.
blondes were pretty consistent, though.
Yeah. That's where you got your blondes. They saw this episode, like, come on. They went and found blondes.
They knew how to
They
make
weren't
money.
hookers. My last note was just humans ruin everything.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, we can't have this complacency. It's going to get boring. We have to take over.
Yeah, I like how they're like, humans can't survive without freedom, and I'm like, human history would beg to differ. I mean, we don't even have freedom globally now.
I was going to ask a couple seconds ago. So, this wouldn't violate the Prime Directive, right? If they send people back?
So, the Prime Directive is you're not allowed to interfere with a pre-warp society. These androids do not have warp drive, but they're pretty advanced. I don't know.
I mean, pre-warp seems like a really like letter of the law kind of thing. I feel like the spirit of it would be technological advancement
What was the deal? This was the only planet left in their solar system? Or was that what they said? Didn't they say their system Nova, killing all the not the old ones, but the
What were they created by? Wouldn't that be the intelligent race involved, or they themselves? It's
You're not supposed to interfere with the development of civilizations.
Yeah.
Okay.
The androids aren't going to develop a civilization on their own. They need stimuli to develop.
Well, and the androids initiated the contact. So
right.
yeah.
So yeah, I don't think Prime Directive
I think
would apply
they're
to
good.
this case. What other notes you got?
I have two more. One was I was amused by by Norman's away party selection. It's almost like a Futurama bit. The thing like you and maybe her.
I
just those
I thought that was okay because they didn't name characters. They said, I want this officer and this officer.
I suppose.
But what I didn't think was okay was they just willingly beamed down and didn't bring security with them. Where were the red shirts?
That's a good.
I guess that couldn't. I mean, we'll blow up your ship if you don't do this. Maybe.
That's
something.
true.
But they didn't get. Well, yeah, I guess they did already have
Yeah.
things hardwired in at that point.
Yeah.
It still just felt like, I would fight back about that a little bit.
So did Mud give them the idea of screwing up the ship, so they had to do this?
I think so. It wasn't
guess.
clear, and then Mud outright lied to them about the purpose at the beginning.
Yeah.
So there was definitely some deception going on.
And how does Mud know that much about a starship?
I don't feel like Mud really had that much to do with what was happening. I think it was more like, hey, I know where you can go find some people. I don't think it's like the actual logistics.
Right,
was.
yeah.
They told
Probably
Mud, where can we get people? And
Yeah.
Then again, he was on the ship for 72 hours, and as we know, anybody on the ship has access to everything.
Yeah, he sabages engineering, and nobody stops as he goes all the way up to the bridge, which is not close.
Yeah, so Norman probably, he was on the ship for 24 hours, already had it all.
Well, and I know he went around and, like, took control of everything at the beginning, but unless he killed or stopped every crew member, he came back on the bridge and he was like, I am in complete control of your ship. It's like, couldn't somebody else just go down and flip switches back the other way? Had he knocked out
Jury-rigged something.
every
They said
other
systems.
that if anyone
There
else...
was-
that nobody could fix?
Like, if they started messing with it, it would explode.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, how he got to that point before anybody stopped him is kind of odd.
Oh, it seems like he had a blue shirt. Maybe he was some sort of science officer. It was like his job.
Yeah, so he should be in engineering. The engineers wear red shirts and these jumpsuit things.
I did love the part at the beginning where Scotty was laid across the control panel and the communicator was right there and they were like, Scotty, speak to us. And he was like, I'm here. Oh, and it hurt so much.
I thought he said, he's
He
here.
got hit by a metal fist.
He did.
Which
but-
was weird. He's like, he's here.
Yes,
He's here.
And then he had a moment of like, I'm in too much pain to
Yeah.
go on. Oh, it was great.
And that was why, like, Kurt kept going, speak to us, and I'm like, you just said he's in the section. If he's not speaking to you, you should already know and be sending security on the way.
Yeah.
There's some great knockout moments in the previous episode too, as I was just watching it earlier.
Yeah, you were here for a cat's paw discussion.
Yeah.
God, the fall knocked them out completely
Through the floor.
all three of them. What was my last one?
We'll still let you change your Woman of Star Trek to one of those witches if you want.
I liked you saying I'm in control of this ship. You sounded like the guy in The Princess Bride. I'm in control of your ship.
So not Captain Phillips or whatever that was.
Not that one.
Actually, the last thing I had was my favorite line read, which was Mud when he sounded sort of like Bane from Dark Knight Rises. Quite possibly for the rest of your lives.
This just makes me sad we don't get more.
I know.
Except for the animated episode.
I know. Because all his deliveries in this are great.
No. They need to bring him into the new movies. I mean, they've name dropped him in Into
Yeah.
Darkness, but I'm really excited. Mudd's going to be in Discovery, played by Rainn Wilson.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah. I think Rainn Wilson will have a good take on him.
So is this supposed to be...
10 years before Where No Man's Gone Before.
Yeah.
okay.
So, like, around the time of The Cage, really.
But after
Or
Enterprise...
slightly before The Cage. Yeah, Enterprise was like 75 years before that. So this is only 10 years before. So, I'm not sure is this right before The Cage or right after The Cage. It's sometime around The Cage is when this takes place. And James Frayne is playing Sarek, Spock's father. So we're going to have... And there's a number 1 that may or may not be the one from The Cage. So there's some familiar characters. Yeah, I want to see the Proto-Mud. I hope they have a Stella with him.
Yeah.
Stella! Sorry.
That's all I can think of when I...
Any other notes before we go on to rankings?
All I hear now is Bane saying,
Possibly for the rest of your lives, Batman.
Okay, let's do men, women. Steven, you still have Marlena.
I'm going to stick with Marlena.
Really?
Yeah.
You've stuck with her for 5
I appreciate
weeks
the Alice's, but I also like when they would get confused or shut down, because that reminded me of most of my adult relationships with women. But that's the way they usually react.
Keith, you also still have Marlena.
Not you, Colleen.
Let's go with the second cat's paw witch. the middle witch.
The middle cat.
See, I thought she was great too. I just wanted a little more of her.
And that maintains through this episode as well?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
as Chekhov would say, it didn't really matter. They all looked like each other, so...
Colleen, you have
I guess if
Commander
you
Decker
chose
now.
two, maybe...
Yeah.
Commodore Decker.
Yeah, if Alice's had been blonde, maybe, but
No.
they didn't do it for me, so I'm sticking with
Mud, Mud didn't do it for you. Norman didn't do it for you.
Something about Mud reminded me so strongly of the grandfather in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh,
Yep,
yes! I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I do too, but he wasn't sexy, so
Yeah.
no.
When I frown on
But Norman
mustaches...
was showing off his little package there.
Yeah, what about Norman and his belly hatch? I mean, didn't that...
Did you
Possibility,
see Governor
yes.
Decker, whatever that guy's name was that I'm into?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with the Valayan who discovered sex from the apple. Even though, yeah, there were tempting things here. Ranking the episode. I mean,
So cat's paw's the bottom?
yeah, it's supposed to bottom. Yeah, sorry.
Probably better than that, so...
Would you disagree?
No, I guess not. We don't really have a lot to choose from, so yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
Mourns for
probably-
Adonis was essentially the same
Right,
episode, but
right,
we
right,
decided
right.
it was a little more solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely above. I mean, we're in the top, definitely in the top half. Let's start with Amok Time. Better or worse than Amok Time?
Lower.
Lower than Amok
Yeah.
Time?
I think so.
I actually would disagree.
Oh, yeah?
Interesting.
But I won't fight it. And what about you, Keith?
It's tough because this is another one of those things that, if generally speaking, if it's an episode I've seen any part of, it's probably going to be pretty iconic.
Uh-huh.
And certainly I enjoyed the logic tests that they had, or the little things. That,
Yeah.
And I would imagine from that time was probably fairly innovative, and I don't know if you know of examples that they've had to do things like that before. Like the whole making the robots head explode with the...
Oh,
with
yeah,
the,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
the smoke and stuff.
fairly creative paradoxes, I thought, so...
Yeah. So would you put this above or
um,
below Amok Time?
Oh, it's tough now.
Where is Amok Time? Where do we have
Two.
this?
Number
Okay.
two.
Okay.
Number one's
One
Mirror
is-
Mirror.
Yeah.
So what's Doomsday
Doomsday's
Machine?
number 3 with Commodore Decker.
Oh, right. The standoff and everything.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Wow.
What's 4?
The Changeling.
Okay.
Colleen, any opinion on ranking?
I don't remember what most of these are.
I know you saw the Doomsday Machine where your
I've had
boy
trouble
Commodore
too.
Decker
Yeah.
ran into the mall
That's
with the
right.
machine. Did you think this was better than that?
Changeling was the floating robot.
Oh, Nomad?
Nomad.
I
Took
liked
away-
this better than Nomad, but not as much as Decker.
Not as much as Decker. What do you think, Steven? Would you put
Yeah,
it
that's
above
what
or
I
below
was thinking.
Doomsday? You'd put it below Doomsday?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's about where I'd land.
What, Keith?
I know it's just a recency bias, as Stephen would say in my head, but yeah, I would probably I would have to go, I guess, under Doomsday Machine.
And I almost feel like I'm violating my usual rule of comedy usually gets downgraded.
See, I
Really?
I really liked this, and I don't know. Honestly, for me, I'm not sure if this is better than Mirror Mirror or not. Like, I really liked this episode. But because the three of you agreed on a spot, I'd say that's where we should put it.
I thought the comedy was especially effective.
Yes.
It was well used.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to complain about putting it below the Doomsday Machine because I feel like all four of these top four are really strong episodes.
We probably intentionally laughed more at this than we have at a lot of the other episodes.
Yeah.
And still unintentionally laughed a couple times.
Right.
But out of 8 episodes, we have 4 really great ones so far. That's a great record.
Yeah.
So
It's off to a good start.
Yeah. Now, next week, I remember being pretty boring. Metamorphosis.
Yeah,
This is Zephyr Cochrane. Before James Cromwell played him so much better.
I remember this being an interesting concept more than an interesting episode.
Yes.
So
That's
we'll
what
see
I think as
how
well.
that.
Until then, enjoy your December.
I'll be working on
Get
my
ready for
Android body
Christmas.
and Colleen's.
Is that what you want for Christmas?
Colleen's Android body. That's
Colleen
what I.
Android body?
Although if I can't live forever, you know what? I'm going to work on mine first. Then Colleen.
Well, I think you should work on hers first, because then you can have 2 Colleens for a little bit.
All right, I'm back to working on Colleen's first. You're right.
Well, until one decides the other one has to be replaced.
Oh, fight to the death.
I feel like I'm the one that will be eliminated in that equation, actually.
I ain't gonna do Robot Chloe. Keep your cat around.
She'll kill both of us.
Yes, right. She will take over the planet. We're all imperfect. Live long and prosper.